Hello, welcome to our Regina District Industry Education Council's Career Spotlight on Correctional Officer. Joining us today and leading the presentation is Brett Cornelson. He works at Prince Albert Penitentiary, and he is here today to share his story about his career. If any students are tuning in, please remember to fill in the survey, which gives us information to help make these presentations better, and you get entered to win a gift certificate of $50. And that also helps us out. Thank you.
Hey, hi, my name's Brett Cornelson, Federal Correctional Officer in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. Do you change the slides or me?
I do.
Okay.
Sorry.
I've been there for 20 years. I've worked most of my career in the medium security department. I've also been helping operate the regional transfer bus for about 18 years, and I've been on the institutional emergency response team for about 15 years. I've worked mostly in the main area of the medium security. I've also done other jobs inside SaskPen. I've acted as a security intelligence officer. I acted as a correctional manager. I've been a union shop steward and jobs like that. Most of the job is organizing the day-to-day activities that your place has a routine. So you supervise and control and monitor the inmates' movements and activities within and outside the institution, because sometimes you got to take them on escorts. You conduct counts and patrols. A patrol is every hour or under every hour, you have to do a walk in your area to make sure no one's hurt or they're not doing anything illegal. You perform security checks and search living units, the place, the buildings, the vehicles, the inmates, other people, property, and areas for contraband. Generally, you work a unit and you control inmate movement. You have lots of tools at your disposal. You use our prison is old, so mostly you use keys to open and close doors. Some of the newer places or newer prisons in Canada, they have everything's electronic. So those are the upgrades. You have mostly the tools you would need to be emergency tools, like first aid equipment or an AED or OC spray or handcuffs or maybe an SCBA kit in case you have to do a fire emergency. Some of the unknown duties is that there's lots of downtime. The inmates only move at designated times, and you spend most of your day waiting in between those times. So the routine is the prison, and you basically, sometimes the routine is quite busy, and sometimes the routine is quite slow. So it's a lot slower than you think it would be. And depending on the unit and the area you work, sometimes you can see lots and lots of emergencies over your career, and sometimes you can see very little, depending on shift work and when stuff happens. You may see lots of things over your life, or you may see very few, just kind of random. The rewards of the place, you get lots of great coworkers you work with. The places can be quite tough to work on certain days, and usually your coworkers are really good, and it makes it really good. You have really good pay and benefits with a government pension, and you work shift work, which means you get lots of days off, which I find are pretty nice. Some of the challenges and stressors, working with inmates can be a challenge. As you can imagine, correctional officers have to work in and work through some dangerous situations. Like I said, there's lots of downtime, but there is lots of risk of getting hurt or injured. The work can be physically and mentally exhausting, and especially during difficult emergencies or other unusual situations. Salary and benefits, you start around $65,000, and a top CO2, which is just the basic level entry, that's not a manager or nothing, it's about $89,000. There's a benefit, there's pension. I think I'm at 20 years and I'm at 5 weeks of holidays I get. We work a 40-hour week. It's shift work, days or evenings or nights. Just different units have different schedules, so you kind of pick a unit that has a schedule you like, and then you do that for a while. I'm not sure. I just skipped that one. Opportunities in the field. The Correctional Service is a government business, and they like to cut corners. So you will not always have the tools you need, or training you need, or support you need, because it's just a government business. There's lots of room for advancement or roles in different fields inside the CSC. You can transfer within Canada anywhere, basically. The place itself has many, many different jobs, like say at Saspan alone, so you can pick a different job there in different fields or areas or whatever you need to make yourself happy. You're able to find a job, schedule a job or extra activities that suit yourself and your home life. And there can be lots of perks inside the job itself. Like with me being a bus driver and on the ERT team, those are some really good perks that have made my career a lot of fun over my 20 years. Work-life balance. You work a 40-hour week, you work 8s, 12s, and 16s. You get lots of days off. Sometimes you work weekends, which are usually quiet, but you gotta work weekends, but you get days off during the week. Sometimes you have to work holidays, but because of shift work, you also get holidays off. It just kind of depends how your schedule works, or you can take vacation for those holidays. And sometimes there's overtime. It kind of goes in waves. In the summertime, there's lots, like peak seasons when the kids have holidays or the kids are off school. Those are usually big overtime days because people with families take those days off.
Thanks, Brett. Couple of questions. So what types of emergency type situations are you seeing, like inmate fights and that sort of stuff? Is that what you're...
Yeah, you'll have like emergency could anywhere from a medical issue, like where the guy's he's had a heart attack or he's difficulty breathing or he's cut himself. That would be a minor one. Or you might have an inmate fight that you have to break up or clean up after, or you might have a staff assault where you have to respond and help a staff assault, or there's, I guess it could go to, those are kind of minor ones. Staff assault would be pretty major, but then you also there's a risk of hostage takings and riots, and there's a lot of extreme. You go from slashing to riots you never really know what you're gonna get into that day.
So Brett, how did you get into it initially? What attracted you to it, and did you have to take some courses before you got into it to access it?
Yeah, I was working in Saskatoon, just kind of bouncing from job to job, and I saw an ad that they were hiring. So I applied knowing that it was a government job with a government pension, and I applied, and it's a long process, but once you go through it, there's about a 4-month training you got to do, and then it's a bunch of on-the-job training, and then you're right into your career.
Where is the training component done now?
It's in different places. There's some in Saskatoon, and there's some in Kingston, and there's some in PEI. It varies year to year and where they do it.
Are the job prospects fairly good right now for students that may be interested in pursuing a career as a correctional officer?
Yes, we're always short. Like we've hired, I don't know how many people over the years, and it just seems like they're always short. It's a big turnaround, and it's a big, like people are always transferring home sort of thing. They hire from all over Canada. So people come to Saspan and work for a few years, and then they transfer home. And so there's a lot of turnaround on staff. And when I was hired in the year 2000, we actually hired, I think, 60 people that year or 90 people that year. So if you can imagine, come 25, 30 years after that, that'll be another huge turnaround. Like there's lots of turnaround stuff.
Is there a part of your job, Brett, that you really quite enjoy? Something maybe that students might, and you talked about the challenges and stresses, of course, but is there anything that might entice a student interested in a career as a correctional officer?
Well, you're not really helping anybody. Like you don't get that fulfillment from it, because mostly you're just you're just routine of housing them or moving them. But a lot of times, like, there's a lot of good inmates in there. So a lot of days you talk to them, and those days, like, they can be quite hilarious, right? So you work with them, and it's not always a conflict. There's lots of days where you're talking, doing your job, and they don't get in your way, and those days can be quite hilarious, right? Because those guys they have some pretty funny stories too. So as long as you don't mind talking to people, because you spend a lot of days talking. You talk to your coworkers, you talk to inmates, and that's how you get most things resolved. And some of those days are a lot of fun because it's amazing the things that you hear from these guys.
What's your ratio of female workers? I'm thinking of students, that is this more of a male dominant kind of job? And I hate to say that these days, but are they wanting females?
Yeah, there's lots of females there. I would say maybe a little under half of it would be female. There's a lot of females there.
When you say shift work, describe that. What are your shifts and how does it work?
There's 12-hour shifts, and those are like 7 in the morning till 7 at night, or 7 at night till 7 in the morning. There's also 8-hour shifts, so those would be 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. or 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. And then my schedule also has some 16-hour shifts. And those are 7 in the morning till 11 at night. We did that a few years ago to get more days off. So you have some long days, but you get more days off. So I currently work a schedule where I work mostly 8s and 16s. So you have those long days to get more days off.
What's the requirement to collect your pension? Is it like 30 years? Is it
25 to start? Yeah, and then the more you work, the more percent it goes up. It's between 25 to 35. There's all different percentages in there.
And at 25 years, what's your percentage?
I'm not sure. It would be 55-ish, 60, something like that. And I think it's 35 years. It's 70 or 75%. I think it's 70.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
What's one of the crazier things you've probably seen in your career so far in the pen?
I've been on the ERT team, and we've done you do lots of cell extractions, and that can get pretty nuts, especially if the guys are drunk or high. I've been in a couple of riot situations, and those are pretty intense. And lots of times you just see these guys, and they're in a condition other than normal, and they're just hilarious, right? Like, they'll be running around naked and stuff like that. Like, it's just, you can't imagine some of the stuff you see in there.
How many inmates did you have right now in Prince Albert?
The medium has about 400 or 450. There's also a minimum security, which would have 80-ish, and I think a maximum has around 80-ish too. So maybe 550 total or 600 total.
I don't know. You've answered our questions quite well, Brett. We're looking at each other in the office here. I don't know if we've got any more.
And that's really the only thing for kids thinking about it is, like, it's like any emergency services job where there's a risk of getting hurt, but most of the time the place is set up for you to be safe, so it's usually safe, but of course there's always that risk, right? So
if someone were interested in going into this field, where do they look for a posting?
I would be on the Government of Canada website. Everything's online now. I don't know it offhand, but you go on to the Government of Canada, and there's an application process on there, and then you can you start it from there. That's how that's how it's all done these days.
Is there a minimum age requirement to start, do you think?
You got to be 18 or 19 to start, yeah.
If there's any other questions out there. I guess not. Oh, wait a minute. How long is the training, you asked? But I think that you said it was about 4 months, right?
Yeah, it's about 4 months. Some of it now is online. You do some of it from home. I think there's a month from home, and then there's 3 months you do in person, and that involves like a lot of policy stuff, a lot of arrest and control techniques. There's some shooting scenarios. It's kind of covers the gist of all the duties.
Nice. Well, thanks so much, Brett. That's been awesome. It's a career that most people don't typically come in contact with.
No, it's a job that, you know, as a person on the street, they'd really let you sit down and tell stories. It's a whole thing that most people, you see it on the TV, but it's not the same, right? So,
yeah.
And it's not like the movies where they make it so flashy. It's just, a lot of it is just mundane work that you have to go through every day. And some days are quite slow, and some days are bananas. You just never know what you're going to get.
Well, thanks.
No problem.
It's been awesome.
Thank you.